Yeah, I want to go back to something that you said much earlier in our conversation about the two surprises coming out of this year was seeing that both political parties are taking a more anti-immigration stance. And I think this really comes from the political attitudes of Americans here in this country. I mentioned that Gallup poll that showed that people wanted to see a decrease. And, part of that is coming from rhetoric, part of that is coming from personal experience that these people are, seeing unfold in their communities. But I wanted to lay this out for you as we look at a situation where you have a Vice President Kamala Harris and a former President Donald Trump both pitching, cracking down on immigration. And ask you, what is the doomsday scenario if we don't fix the immigration system here in the United States? What is the economy going to look like if we don't figure out how to welcome more immigration, both low skilled and high skilled? You said that things haven't been done since 1990. So what is your scenario?
Doomsday scenario? Yeah, look, I think the pernicious part of it is that I don't think that we would see an immediate collapse of our economy, right? This would be a gradual decline. To me, actually, a doomsday scenario that is realistic for the United States is what happened in Argentina between about 1945 and today, right? In 1945, the US and Argentina were very comparable economies. They were countries of about the same economic size. They were both very wealthy. Immigrants actually were just as likely to want to go to Buenos Aires than New York in the 1940s, 1930s. Okay. And then what happened to Argentina is that they elected this president, Juan Perón, the husband of Evita, if you watch the musical. Some of the echoes are a little interesting, right? Very populist president, very protectionist president, looked inward, very suspicious of the outer world. And so Argentina stopped receiving immigrants. Argentina imposed very high tariffs on foreign goods and services, right? This might start to sound familiar. And at first, things were okay. It even seemed like, hey, it's working for Argentina. We have more jobs for locals. But then, reality started catching up. Argentina stopped becoming innovative. Argentina stopped getting those five things that immigrants bring. And it just entered into a gradual decline. It's the only country that was rich and is now not rich anymore. It has never happened to any other country to go in that direction. And it came from closing itself off to the world. So to me, my doomsday scenario is that slow, secular, irreversible decline. That's really what we can face, right? It's not going to be a precipitous decline. It's just going to be that our grandkids are way poorer than we are. And that'll happen yet 2 or 3% decline per year that compounds over 80 or 90 years, and it becomes a really large problem. And to me, that's why this is so pernicious, right? Is because no one can say the sky is falling tomorrow. It's more that the sky is like slowly falling over, many decades. I really do worry about that significantly. And I think that my worry is that both sides have sort of come around to this mindset. And this is why. It's because we don't have a good narrative about why immigration is good for us, what it does for us. There are really two narratives about immigration that most people believe, and it's one of the two. One of them is what I call the villain narrative, the idea that immigrants are here to steal your job and undermine your safety and destroy your precious culture that you love so much. That's familiar. That's the platform right now of one of our major political parties. But the other story, interestingly, is not a good antidote to that. It's what I call the victim story. And this is what the Emma Lazarus poem by the Statue of Liberty tells us, right? The bring me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. It's a very compassionate message. It's a very nostalgic message because it reminds us of our immigrant ancestors. But with all due respect to Emma Lazarus, the way that we've interpreted that poem, I think, has done a lot of damage because then it comes down to either immigrants are villains that we should fear, or they're these victims that we should have pity upon. And pity and fear don't really get you to a majority, right? In fact, fear will usually beat pity, and which is why you're seeing that the Democrats have moved toward the fear side. What the evidence shows, right? What my book is about, based on 20 years of research, is that you don't need to pity or fear immigrants. You should welcome them because they're good for you. They're good for your grandchildren. They're good for your economy. They're good for your culture. And that's a message that is about what immigrants do for us. It's not about them, it's about us. And that's a more powerful message. And it's a message that focuses on our self-interest, on what's good for us. So I think that if we get there, if we manage to know what's good for us, immigration will become popular again. If not, fear will win out for sure. The villain message will beat the victim message every time.